Hi everyone, and welcome back to another guided nature play teacher training video. Today I'm going to be walking you through one of my absolute, hands down, all-time favorite guided nature play activities called Rainbow Gems. Rainbow Gems is a really magical color search game where your students are going to get the chance to wander and explore independently in a forested area, armed with a couple of cool little gems. Now, their goal is to find the gem's perfect color match in nature, and when they do, they're going to take that object that they found with their gem, bring it back to the group, and as a class at the end, you're going to create an incredible rainbow mosaic together. So the first thing that you're going to need for props is an opaque bag. Now the reason that we say opaque is because we're going to have our gems and our cloth and our story inside of here. Having a bag that they can't see through, maybe one that has a cool fun pattern, I believe this one's just from a thrift store, it's gonna keep a sense of magic. And that's what we really love to do with all of our activities, because it keeps students wondering and engaged and excited to play in nature, not knowing what's coming next. So in our bag, the first thing you're going to have is a large white sheet. This one is pretty small, it's just a napkin. For a class of, let's just say, 20 to maybe even 30 students, you're gonna want something a lot bigger than this. Things like bed sheets can work really well. Cut them down to a manageable size. You want to keep it as condensed as possible while still allowing all the students to sit around it or access it in some way, because you're going to be working as a team to create this mosaic together. This is going to be the center point of your boundary. It's really going to help you when you're sending children out independently, that they have a very clear place where they're meant to come back to, so they can go explore, come back, go explore, come back. The white is going to be really, really important because our rainbow gems are brightly colored, and so are the things in nature we're bringing back. Having a white cloth underneath those colors is going to make the rainbow so much more vibrant, and it's going to be really, really mesmerizing to look at. Next up in your cloth bag is going to be your rainbow gems. These are just tiny little stones. Ours are actually glass fish tank beads, and we have them in an array of different colors. Now, sometimes these gems are a little bit tricky to find, so we have a couple of different options. You can either use glass fish tank stones, you can use tumbled stones from either crystal shops or museums. You're going to find rainbow gems either in craft stores or online. One thing that you can do is to go into any home improvement store, go into the back paint section. Now they always have those walls of paint strips, those little color swatches. You can collect as many of those as you want. They should be totally free. You can take a bunch of them from different colors, mainly colors that you would find in nature, and then a couple really cool challenging colors. Those work perfectly fine. If you want to, you can cut them into fun shapes. You can also cut them into little circles and then buy clear glass fish tank stones that have a flat bottom but sort of a domed top. Take the little paint chip that you've cut and glue it to the bottom of that stone so that when you look at the stone, that color is going to shine through. It'll create a really cool effect, and it works just as well as having those glass dyed stones. There's a couple things that you're going to want to keep in mind. First is the colors. It's really easy to find brightly colored fish tank or garden stones that are maybe bright neon or even glow in the dark. They're really simple to find, but it's not simple to find out in nature. So when your students are wandering around looking for electric blue, they might be struggling. So try to find colors that are as natural as possible. You don't want to just stick with the brown or the green or the orange, because students already know that they can find those colors out in nature. We're trying to get the students to understand that if they look hard enough, they can find those purples and they can find those pinks and they can find those blues, but blues are really challenging. So only have a couple of those in your set. Your goal is to get a collection of stones, at least one, maybe two or three for every student in the class. It might seem like a lot, but it's worth it, and there can be repeats of colors, don't worry. And the final item in your special little rainbow gem sack is going to be your story. It explains where the gems came from, how they came to be in the first place, and how you, the teacher, happen to have some of these super rare gems with you today. So my favorite lead into this activity is while you're walking with your students, once you've reached the area that you're going to be doing the activity, don't tell them that. Just stop and find something on the ground that's a bright color. You can find this beforehand and just have it ready. And you're going to find it and just be so excited because this bright color matches this rainbow gem that you've been searching for so long. It's a really hard color to find, so you're just over the moon excited. You're going to reach into your bag and you're going to grab the gem that corresponds with this color. And you're going to show them, I love this so much, I finally found this color. Now, your students are probably going to be looking at you like you have two heads. This is where you can ask them, have you never heard about rainbow gems before? Their response to if they know what rainbow gems are or not is probably going to be no. And so this gives you an opportunity to get really excited and say, let me show you. Gather the students up, get them into a circle, and have them sit down. Now the key to this is to get your voice a little bit lower. Not quite a whisper because you want them all to be able to hear you, but you're hushing your voice down and bringing out this magical, wondrous tone. And that's what's going to get them quieting down to hear what you have to say. And it's going to immediately set the tone from excited to be in the forest to excited to listen to what's going to happen next. And then you can begin your story. Once, a very long time ago, there was no color in the whole universe. The trees, the oceans, the skies, the stars, even the little creatures of the earth. Everything that existed was either in black, white, or shades of gray. One day, a young gnome put on their gray shoes, took their gray bag from the gray wall, and stepped outside of their little gray hut to attend their little gray forest garden. The gnome then stood, frozen in their tracks. What is that in the sky? The gnome could see something new, something massive, arching up and over the entire sky. It was beautiful and shining with bright bands of glittering... Well, the gnome didn't even know what they were, but it sure was incredible. They had to get a closer look. The gnome quickly ran out of their little gray village, through the gray forest, across the gray river, up to the peak of the gray mountain, right where the bands seemed to curve down from their arch. Curious, the gnome reached out a hand to touch it, and when they did, it shattered. The gnome didn't even know it, but they had touched the very first rainbow. Drops of brilliant color began pouring out of the arching beams as they shattered and raining down to the earth below. Everything that the drops landed on seemed to drink up the colors. The gray oceans and skies turned a dazzling blue, the leaves into bright reds and greens and yellows, and some of the creatures of the earth even became entire rainbows themselves. Everyone from the gnome's village ran outside excitedly to see what was happening. They held their hands out to catch as many little droplets as they could, and when they did, the droplets hardened in their hands into tiny little gems. The gnomes kept these gems safe for thousands of years, and they've been passed on generation to generation. Now I have some of these special gems here with me today. Now that you've read your story, place down your large white cloth, and then while everyone is still sitting, before you place the gems down, you're going to set some really clear boundaries. Just like with all of our guided nature play activities, where the students are wandering independently, your boundaries are going to be the things that are going to keep everyone safe and help you keep control of the class at all times. Challenge them to not only find all of the colors in nature, but challenge them to find it within those boundary lines. Remind your students to be really gentle with the forest and to treat living things with respect. It is okay to use some living things as long as you're doing so really carefully and really respectfully, but challenge them to try to find those colors in things that are already dead and on the ground. So now that your matches are all completed, there are no more gems left without a match. Have your students work together to create a rainbow from the story. The red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, beautiful arching rainbow, just like the gnome from our little story touched for the very first time. Now that you've given your students a chance to admire the rainbow that they've created, there's one last thing that you need to do, and that's to collect all the gems up. Have your students help with this, but leave behind the colors from nature that they've gone out to collect, all that natural material. And you're going to find, and they'll discover, that even without the use of those gems, that rainbow absolutely still exists out in nature. This serves two purposes. One, you now have every single one of your gems back into this bag. They're a little bit easy to lose, so this really helps with cleanup. But you've also showed them that they can do this activity without the use of these gems because those colors exist and they're capable of finding them themselves. Now, to me, this is what makes this activity so special. You really only need to use these gems once or twice. You can use them as much as you want, but you'll only need to have them as guiding tools maybe once. Because as soon as those students start to figure out that all of those colors exist, they're going to want to go out and find those colors all on their own. Even if you're doing other activities, you're probably going to find them. Oh, look at this really cool red, or look at this really cool blue, or I remember it was so hard to find this purple, but look at how much purple I found. Students are really good at finding colors, and this is one that is so fun to do anytime with your students, whether it's 15 minutes for a full activity or just a little bit of wind down time after a test. Who doesn't love a story and a chance to go and find some colors in the woods? It's such a diverse, wonderful activity for all age groups. And that's the end of our Rainbow Gems activity. We hope that you have so much fun going out with your students and discovering these beautiful colors in nature for yourselves. Happy discovering! Bye!